Thorny, as we venture into the R&R, two truths are consistent. We love our dear Montana State, and we love great beer. And you know who else feels the same? Jeremiah Johnson Brewing. Brewed in the heart of Montana in downtown Great Falls, Jeremiah Johnson takes Montana's finest ingredients to craft some of Montana's favorite beers. And now, Jeremiah Johnson's second tap room is open in downtown Coeur d'Alene. Their Citra IPA is probably one of my favorites. But we all know, Thorny, you're not the hop lover I am. You're more of a Mountain Man Scotch Ale.
Well, Foley, I'm certainly not a mountain man, but you are right. I do love their Mountain Man Scotch Ale. But come game day, you and I are both cracking their Golden Bobcat Pale Ale. So when you're looking for a quality craft beer brewed with Montana roots, a relaxing tap room, or just a six-pack to take to your favorite Bobcat tailgate, Jeremiah Johnson delivers. Make your next beer a Jeremiah Johnson, and as always, go Cats.
Welcome, everybody, to the R&R Catcast, a fan-based podcast focusing on Montana State athletics. We're two dudes named Ryan from the state of Washington talking about our dear Montana State. We hope you enjoy. All right, welcome back, Bobcat fans. Thanks for joining us on another episode of the R&R Catcast. I'm one of your hosts, Ryan Foley. Looking at me across the state is my good buddy, Ryan Thornburg. He is named Thorny on the podcast. We are the Ryans of the R&R, the Montana State affiliate of the Big Sky Podcast Network, and we have a dang sponsor in Jeremiah Johnson's brewing awesome beers in downtown Great Falls, Montana, with a second tap room in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. I still remember how to do it, Thorny.
You did it. Yeah, very, very good. No rust there. You breezed right through that.
Woo! Cheers. I have a little dust on the microphone, brother. Had to remember how to turn this thing on, plug it in, and get it out of the closet.
So there was some rust, just not with the intro. Setting up the equipment. Mine never moves, so mine's pretty easy to figure out. Stays in one spot.
Right on. Cool, dude. Well, we're gonna do another episode tonight. We are going to talk about basketball again. Holy cow. Basketball's been over for like a month, feels like.
Yes.
But yet we still have to recap the tournament losses in the NCAA. Montana State had some pro day stuff going on with football. We'll talk about a little football news. Football's ramping up right now. We have 5 weeks of spring ball going on, culminating in the Sonny Holland Classic, which we will probably do an episode on. I imagine we'll watch that. That's going to be broadcasted on ESPN Plus. So that's pretty cool. Yeah. We'll watch that and put an episode out after that game. But we'll talk a little bit about football. Some exciting news, though, Ryan, is we have some Golden Coolie questions because we have a brand new shipment of Golden Coolies. Holy cow. Legit Golden Coolies, holding it up. What does it say there, Ryan?
R&R Catcast, which is, our brand, the name of our podcast, instead of just Montana State football, which just commingled what we do in our brand. And if you just looked at it, you would have no idea what that is. So now, at least our name's on it. You might not have any idea what it is based on the name, but our name's on it. That's a moving in the right direction. I would say nobody here is a marketing genius, but I actually did graduate from Montana State in marketing, so I should know better. That was my degree. Clearly not using it.
I just like how Montana State basically told us, don't sell them, get rid of them, don't affiliate with us.
Hey, we turned ourselves in. Like we made these. What's the process here? So we're trying to play within the rules here. We're trying to be team players, law-abiding citizens.
Well, another thing about these coolies, so I work with when I order the coolies, we get them from a company called Coolie Nation, which is like a homegrown family operation. I want to say it's like in New Hampshire. I might be wrong about that. But they upgraded us with this neoprene, and the other ones were like a fabric, kind of like a spongy fabric. And these feel way more sturdy. They have like
look at the stitching
down
on
the
that.
sides.
Yeah, look at that.
Yeah, look at that, man. So Yes. Second edition of the Golden Coolie. I'm excited to start sending these out, man.
Yeah, if you have one, I think it's worth getting a new one because new branding and it's neoprene. It's better quality.
Yeah.
Let's do it, people. Submit those questions. Get yourself your third, your fourth coolie. Start giving away to people. Whatever you want to do. Let's ramp it back up.
Ryan, you know, we could even choose to sell these ones if we wanted to.
We could.
Maybe do a donation for the podcast.
We'll figure something out.
All right. Okay. Well, let's start with the basketball tournament and in the NCAA tournament. Like the men's game against Texas Tech. We'll talk about that in the women's game against Stanford.
Excuse me.
Ooh, yes. Excuse me, right?
The tab broke. That didn't do anything. It sounded bad. It felt bad. It looked bad.
Did you have one of those ones where you try to pop it, but nothing happened?
Yeah, it just popped at like a millimeter, and then the tab just went like all the way forward. But I'm in. I broke in. Can I go ahead? Can I assume that we're going to actually do this here? Even though
yeah.
This is like a second time in a row that you've decided to skip over what we do here. I have the Mother Earth Brewing Company Cali Creamin' Vanilla Cream Ale. I have never heard of this company before. Nampa, Idaho, and Vista, California. So they got two breweries, I guess.
I used to live in Nampa, Idaho. What's that? What's the brewery called?
Mother Earth Brew Co.
Yeah. Brew Co.
Hey, that's pretty tasty. Just had a sip. Not bad. I haven't had a vanilla cream in a while, and I saw that on there. And I'm like, yeah, sounds kind of good. It's pretty light on the vanilla. Not too much on the cream, which is good. So, delicious. I would actually get this again.
I don't think I've ever had a vanilla cream beer. I don't think I've ever heard of a vanilla cream beer.
It's got the surfing van thing.
Yeah.
I assume that's wood panels.
I used to have one of those. Not quite the surf van. I had a 85 Westie, a camper van. Did you ever see that?
Yeah, you sent some pictures of it when you were selling it, I think.
Yeah, I sold it to a couple in Portland last year, and kind of missed that van. It was really cool. Anyways, nice job, man. I didn't know Nampa had a brewery. I'm not surprised. I have just kind of a Rainier with a lime in it. So, I don't know. What do you call that? Northwest meets.
I call
California.
that Ryan Foley just puts lime in all of his beers and thinks he's fancy.
Fancy pants Foley. That's what they call me around here.
No one calls you that. No one's ever called you that.
Me that.
You're the least fanciest person I know. And that's not an insult. That just is what it is.
It is what it is. You're right. No, my wife picked these up. We went to Wenatchee. Wenatchee is right by Leavenworth. Oh, we had spring break last weekend. She was going out. I was like, hey, just pick up some beer. She came back with a 6-pack of Rainier Tall Boys.
Nice.
That's what she comes back with.
Nothing wrong
All
with
right,
that.
Here we go.
Nothing wrong with that.
Just leftovers. Right on.
All right.
Okay.
So now we can get into the basketball chat.
Woo.
Something we wanted to do for a few weeks, but it's been hard to find the time to record when we both had time. You had spring break. I've been sick. There was a week there where I was basically super hoarse and I sounded awful and didn't want to record. So we're finally getting around to it. We're going to mash it together with some football chat. Where do you want to start? Let's start, I guess, with the final results of the season before we actually talk any about any offseason moves or anything like that. Montana State Bobcats gain the 14 seed against the 3rd seed Texas Tech Red Raiders, and that game was not particularly pretty. The Bobcats lose 62-97. They were down 52-25 at halftime. I think Texas Tech was shooting like 77% from the field at halftime. They ended up shooting like 66%. Yeah, 66.7% for the entire game. Sorry, I don't mean to laugh, but it's absurd. Like, teams don't shoot that well in warm-ups. All right, that's just ridiculous. 62-97 doesn't take away from the amazing season the Bobcats had in any way, in my opinion, but ran into a complete buzzsaw, a really bad draw for the Bobcats, a super athletic big, rangy, tough, defensive-minded team, Texas Tech, and we just couldn't get it going at all against the Red Raiders.
Felt like Texas Tech smelled blood in the water because you watched them defend us. It was like watching a like varsity team take on a middle school team, where the middle school team was just having trouble dribbling and passing the ball, and that would have been us. Montana State. It was terrible.
Yeah, like dribbling off our feet, just like dribbling it and like just losing control of the dribble right to a defender. It's just like, okay, well, it was a good season. You're thinking that within the first like 5 minutes of the game, like, well, we had a good season because it was over.
We scored the first 2
quick.
points of the game. I was like, sweet, we got the lead. That was the only lead we ever had. 2-0.
Yeah. Alternate headline is Texas Tech comes back against Montana State to win in commanding fashion. They had to come back from that 2-0 deficit. Yeah. I mean, there really isn't a lot to talk about in this game. It kind of went the way that, not that I expected, but I guess I feared it might go. I was really hoping that the Bobcats would put up a good performance and kind of make a run or keep it close for a half or, prove that we really belonged or even that we got shafted at a 14 seed. Instead, we just completely lay an egg and don't even look like we belonged in the tournament in the first place. So it was a rough game to watch, but tough game to watch, but overall amazing season. It doesn't detract at all for me from the season that we had.
Oh, you're right, Ryan. Texas Tech really put a hurting to us. It made us feel pretty bad in that moment. Everything you said, I would like agree with that. Texas Tech went on to beat Notre Dame. Sorry,
the other
Notre
UND.
Dame. Yeah, 59-53, and then they lost to Duke, the number 2 team, 78-73. So
close game.
They had a good run, but they really put the hurt into us. It just looked weird. Montana State, Ryan, one thing I remember watching that game was during the middle of the day. I had to watch it during a class I was teaching. And unfortunately, the kids were pretty okay with it. It was a Friday, if I remember right. And so we were doing something.
Aren't kids always okay with their teacher not paying that much attention to them?
Yeah. I mean,
not that that's the case, but I'm saying
on this one.
A kid, any chance a kid has to slack off, they're going to not be upset about it. At least me when I was in school.
Yeah. I just hope my employer is not listening to this, but
allegedly.
Montana State looked nervous. They looked really nervous in this game.
They seemed like they shrank from the moment, which was a little disheartening. But you can't really put any of that on anybody. You can't ever really prepare for something like this. But yeah, they looked kind of scared and they looked a little nervous in that game for sure.
It made me wonder, like, is this what we needed to feel? Kind of like all of the national championship. Do we just need to feel it in order to then better prepare ourselves for the next time we get there?
I think so.
Yeah, kind of thing.
I mean, we have a first-time head coach in his 3rd season, but it's first time being a head coach. Like, that's a fast-rising coach, right? You on your 3rd year, you take a team that hadn't been there in 26 years, and all of a sudden you take them there on a team that you were on 26 years ago, or whatever the years were. And, he learned a lot in the process. I mean, you see the improvements. Like last year, we lost in the Big Sky Conference Tournament Championship game. This year, we were able to get over that hump. And then now you reach that next echelon and you get shellacked. And now you know what it takes and what the mentality needs to be and what the environment is. And I mean, now you learn so much from these experiences.
All right, Thorny, I'm going to pass this question to you because it's the question out there right now. What does it take for Montana State or a Big Sky Conference school to be competitive in the national dance?
Man, I've been thinking a lot about this. After this game ended and all the rumors swirling around about Danny Sprinkle leaving the Bobcats, and we'll get into Danny Sprinkle contract extension here in a little bit. So good news on that front. I've been thinking a lot about that, and I don't have an answer. It's like the entire conference. It's just not a very good basketball conference. And I don't know why that is. I think any coaches that have any success typically move on and out whenever they get the first opportunity to. Could be a combination of the fact that there's just not that many colleges in the Western United States compared to the Eastern United States. So it's a lot harder to find recruits, or maybe it's a lot harder to bring in talent, or bring in like opponents. And a lot of it, I think, is the way that the Big Sky Conference is refereed. I don't think that helps the Big Sky Conference at all. I really don't know. Like, there's just not that many good programs, basketball programs, because I think a big part of it too is most of the schools in the Big Sky Conference are football schools, with the exception of Weber, who's now finally gotten both going. But I think most of the schools in this conference put most of their resources, if not all of them, into football, even the bad ones. It's still disproportionate. I mean, a conference like the WCC, like, I don't think any of those schools play basketball or football.
Yeah, I don't think they do.
So they can spend every university athletic dollar on basketball.
Yeah. Montana State has a real opportunity right now to capture some momentum, you would think, to become a legit mid-major if they were to fund basketball, if they were to allocate efforts into making Montana State a destination for, like I said, a legit mid-major. Danny Sprinkle just signed a 4-year contract extension. I mean, he could be the guy that lays the foundation for this. It's going to need the funding, though. What would that look like at Montana State? What do you think that would look like?
What would what look like? Sorry.
Like, what kind of money, what kind of visible signs would you need to see for you to feel like, okay, football and basketball are now of equal footing?
Well, I hate to say this, but did you see what the upgrades that the Grizzlies just released? They just built. They put out the press room. Yeah, like I haven't seen a Big Sky school put that kind of money into a basketball locker room before. Maybe Weber State has in the past. I don't know. They have a really nice event center. The D Event Center is an awesome facility. I don't know what like the strength training program looks like or any of that kind of stuff. But what the Grizzlies did is impressive. And I think it would take something like that for the Cats to kind of move in that direction. We need to build some sort of new basketball facility. It's not going to be a new arena. The brick is the brick. It's going to be the brick for the foreseeable future. But some better, I don't know, something, just invest in it some way. I know we did the scoreboard a few years ago, which is a big deal, but I mean, you got to put some effort into some, the arms race side of things too. Some money into that. But I think ultimately, and this is probably where the problem lies a lot in the Big Sky too, is just salaries of head coaches. They're not much. They are not much.
No.
Now I know that I think was it Brian Katz who was the coach at Sac State who finally just retired for health reasons this season, or maybe even right as the season started. I don't remember. He was paid. I saw like a salary. He was paid like $400,000 or $500,000 a year base salary.
Ooh.
I also know California kind of skews things a little bit, and he had been there for like 18 years, so there's probably some sort of mandatory percentage raise every single year, being in a public institution. But the rest of them were anywhere from like 160 to like 250 was kind of the range, and that's just not a lot of money these days. Everything just comes down to money, man. Everything just comes down to money. Unless you are willing to put money into the basketball program, it's going to be where it is.
That's a good point. I wish I would have known we were talking salaries. I know Randy Ray has the top salary in the conference right now. He signed like at a big extension 2 or 3 years ago, and he's done nothing since. It's been almost like his like sword in his heart.
Randy Ray makes $192,000 base salary as of 2020. I'm actually reading a Bozeman Daily Chronicle reporting by our old buddy Paul Schwedelson. So I got the whole list here.
Buddy.
Good old Schweddy. Yeah, Brian Katz, $300,000. I'm sorry, it wasn't as high as I was thought, but that he was the highest paid coach in the Big Sky Conference was Brian Katz. No one else was above 200 at the time. Randy Ray is the second highest paid at 192. Oh, I'm sorry. Shane Burkar, Northern Arizona, $198,000. Hasn't helped NAU, I guess. They haven't been good at basketball for a while, for a spell.
Other thing I think that kind of holds the Big Sky Conference back is the lack of size that we're able to develop and recruit here. We just don't have the big men to compete. Jabril Bello, who is, he was the MVP, right, this year. Am I saying that wrong?
No, he was the MVP.
He looked like their point guard for Texas Tech. It's just not fair.
Well, at the same time, though, it's not like anyone in the Final Four or anything had a big 7-footer or anything. You just need a 6'10 big, 6'9 big. I think Bello's tall enough. The problem is the rest of the team is that tall. I think the old notion that you need like
7 of those dudes.
Yeah, you don't need a big tree anymore. That's more maybe an NBA thing. In college, it's kind of moved away from that, but now everyone is 6'8". Your point guard is 6'8". Your center is 6'8". Everyone's 6'8". And that's the problem. We got little more like 5'7" Xavier Bishop running around is more of a problem than I think Bello being the big.
Yeah. Abdul Muhammad had the length, I thought, to be that transitional player, like that
and he was
forward / who could stretch. His body length is something Montana State needs.
I mean, this is the most athletic, big time looking team that we've had in forever. And then when we got to Texas Tech, they look like the Monstars. As we've said this several times, but they just looked like a different level. Like you just step on the court with them, like, oh, okay, that's what they look like. It's like all of a sudden you think Abdul Muhammad is a big stretch, lean guy, and he just looks like a twig out there.
Yeah, it looks like a skinny middle schooler. Hey, Thorny, last question on this game. Do you think drawing Texas Tech was the worst draw for Montana State? Do you think we could have, I'm not saying win, but do you think we could have been more competitive if we had anybody but Texas Tech?
I mean, I think we would have done better against like a Big Ten type team or something like that. I don't know, like a Midwest type team. I don't know. It was a bad draw, but I'm not sure that results would have been a whole lot different with anyone else. I don't think we would have been able to beat anybody necessarily, but I think it was a really bad draw just in terms of teams with that size have given us problems. They reminded me a lot of like a Eastern Washington on steroids type looking team. And Eastern Washington gave us some troubles with their size. So it was a bad draw. I don't think anything would have changed. But yeah, it was a bad draw.
I mean, like you said, they shot ridiculous percentage, but they were also hyper aggressive with their defense, and they just gave Montana State just fits. And what I saw when I was watching that game in closing on this is Montana State just looked a little bit nervous, a little bit out of sorts. And by the time we kind of settled in the second half, it was way too late.
Yeah, it was way too late. But, and that's the point too. Like by the time we settled in was Texas Tech just kind of letting us settle in. They're like, oh, whatever, we don't care anymore. That's always the hard part too. It's like they, at the mentality, the coaches tell them to play as hard as they always do. But your mentality at that point, like, are you really trying your hardest when you're up by, 40 points?
Jeez. You're right. Good point.
All right. Well, that puts a cap on the Bobcat men's season. It was a great season. Came to end in a thudding fashion, but it is what it is. That's just kind of the destiny of most Big Sky teams. Let's flip it over to the women. Why don't you take this one? Why don't you take the score here?
I don't want to.
We got to. I mean, it was kind of the same situation.
Oh, really. Man. ESPN just started playing their ad. That's always jarring.
I didn't hear it, so I'm making a recording. So if you've listened to our podcast before, and sometimes you hear some like weird... sometimes it sneaks its way into the recording, and I can't parse it out. I just let it ride. If it's only like 5 seconds, I'm like, yeah, I'll just leave it in, and people will just ignore it. So if you're listening to it on your workday and you just start hearing like crowd noises and stuff like that, I'm sorry. I try not to. Anyway.
All right. The women made it to the dance as well, and we took on the number 1 Stanford Cardinal. We played in their home stadium, which I think is just ridiculous, but is what it is.
We thought it was ridiculous that the Rams got their home locker.
Yeah, man, don't even bring that up.
Which we never recorded a post Super Bowl episode, and there's a good reason.
You're canceled. You're canceled.
got kind of salty.
I'm done talking to you.
Anyway.
Oh, man. I knew you were going to make me take this score. We lost 78-37. There's not much to say. We didn't even score in the first quarter. It was 20-0. We got dunked on. Man.
Which was pretty awesome. Like, it's cool to see that athletic feat, but just not against your team.
No, that's they posterized us, man. We were all over Sports Center.
Yeah, if you click on the women's, like the score, the game highlights, Fran Beliebe rises up for epic dunk for Stanford. There it is. You can click play and watch the thing. 20-0 at the end of the first quarter. We were not the only team in the tournament to go scoreless for a quarter. It actually happened to at least one other team, if not two other teams. There was a couple other teams that got blanked in a quarter. I don't think it was the first quarter for everybody. I think some team got blanked in like the third quarter. But yeah, 12 points in the second, 9 points in the third. I mean, by that point, it is 63-21. I mean, this game was over before it started, unfortunately, a lot like the men's game. I thought it was kind of the same situation. Like, they just looked a little intimidated. Stanford is a really, really good, athletic, big team, and we just couldn't handle it right from the get-go. I mean, we had some decent looks. I actually, it's coming back to me now. We haven't. This game happened a few weeks ago at this point. The Cats had some decent looks at some 3-pointers in the beginning of the game. We were just cold. Like, I feel like the men had to struggle for what they got. The women actually had some shots, and they just couldn't hit.
Yeah. No, I was able to watch some of that game. I was at the end of a running club, and we were at an establishment, and I had that pulled up on the phone. And you're exactly right, Ryan. We just couldn't hit the buckets. We shot for like 22%. It wasn't just wasn't our night, which made me a little bit surprised because I thought, remember it was, I can't even remember the year now. It might have been 2019 when the Cats played at the University of Washington.
Mm-hmm.
We played really well during that game. That was a good showing for us.
It was a good showing, especially. I think it was Peyton Ferris scored like 40 points in that game or something like that. That was a pretty exciting game.
Yeah, so I was thinking this could be kind of a la that kind of performance, but again, just kind of a big loss. Ryan, one thing I was thinking about, and this is concerning to me. You think back to this game, to the men's game, and to the national championship game. You look at the margin of defeat. I haven't crunched the numbers. And I'm not going to right now, but that's a big margin of defeat between those three games.
Yeah.
What does that say about Montana State athletics in the big moment?
I don't know, man.
That's a loaded question right there.
Well, it's interesting because we talked about this incremental improvement where you get to that next level, and then the way the Bobcats have done it, you get blown out. The next year, you get to that same level, and you actually overcome the hump. Like the football team is a great example. Like we semifinal, or quarterfinal, semifinal, the national championship. The problem is when we lose, it's just disastrous. It's like why can't we lose a game that we're like competing with, and it's a punch for punch, and we come out short-handed. It's like every time the Cats lose a big game, it's in flames. We finally started winning some of those big games, but still, when it's a loss, it is bad. Like if you want to, combine the losses between the national championship and the two tournament games, it's like over 100 points in 3 games. This is absolutely absurd.
It is, man. It is. And it becomes like a kind of a punching bag narrative for the Bobcats. I mean, our foes across the hill, they're like, yeah, but you guys really suck when it comes to the big games. And they're not wrong.
The best smack talk has a hint of truth in it.
They're not wrong. So, as a Cat fan, we have to change that narrative. We have to become competitive in these big games. And I thought, go back to look at Jeff Choate. That was his mantra, right? Like lose big, lose small, win small, win big. We lost big against the Grizzlies and we lost big against the Bison. Both of those games were of consequence.
Okay, so you need to parse out the difference, though. You're saying we lose in the big games, but we won a lot of big games that we hadn't won previously.
Yeah.
So you got to give the credit on that side of it too.
Okay. No. There is
beat
credit.
But Washington. We beat Weaver State. But yes,
when we lose, but when we lose in epic
it's
fashion,
so bad.
It's not close. It's just like going down Titanic style.
Go big.
I don't understand. And it just looks bad. It just leaves a bad taste in the mouth, man. And that's all I'm saying.
It does.
Just,
like you lose to North Dakota State like
right?
35-24 or something. That's you feel different than the way 38-10 or 18. Well, I don't remember the score in that game, but it was you lose to the Grizz 24-17 instead of the way it went down. Like I don't really know what that feels like. Which is a weird thing to say. Like every time we lose, it's so bad. And I just like you said, I want us to win the games, obviously, but if we're gonna lose, you want to be competitive, and we just don't have that. And I don't know what that is. It seems to be consistent across the programs. But there's worse things than going all the way to the highest level you can go and then losing in dramatic fashion. Because each program literally went to as far as you can go. Like the football program obviously went as far as you can go. Didn't win. Now you can go farther in the tournament, but you're probably not going to. So you made it. You reached the pinnacle of each three of the big major sports, but they all just crashed and burned in big time flames. Unfortunately, but there's worse positions to be in than the Bobcat athletic program right now. In fact, they're in great shape. We just got to figure out some of those things.
The Cat.
Yeah, the year of the Bobcat. Absolutely. We were going to talk about that. I don't have all this stuff in front of me. And we didn't decide to talk about it, but we talked about it at one point. Just all the accomplishments of all the various sports programs at Montana State. It's been a hell of a year.
I wonder if the Brawl of the Wild, or what is that? The Great Divide Trophy, where they compete against the Grizzlies in all the sports. Has that been decided yet?
No, the Great Divide Trophy is the actual trophy, but yeah, it's the Lucky Lils. Yeah, maybe it's the Brawl of the Wild series. Maybe is what it's called.
Yeah,
but yeah, they have like a point system for all sports. Like football has like 3 points, other ones have like 1 point or something like that. And yeah, the Bobcats have won that like 5 years in a row or something. But football is such a big weight on that, so I don't think that's been announced yet. At least I haven't seen it because I think tennis is still going, so it must still be neck and neck because there's still other sports like track and field is still going, tennis is still going. There's still some sports that are competing against each other. They would have called it if Ryan, it was, heavily one way or the other.
Okay. Ryan, I'm going to throw in a Golden Coolie question from our boy Colorado Cat. He says, which basketball team will have a better season next year?
It's a great question. And the easy answer for me, and the one most face value, I think the women are the easier choice here. They only lose like 2 seniors or something like that, and I don't think either one of them were particularly big contributors.
Gabby Mackey and
Mackey is
Ashley Van Sickle, who went in as like a graduate transfer into the portal. So those are the only 2 girls I could see that were actually leaving the program. The big players are either going to be seniors or juniors next year.
Yeah, the Cats were a pretty darn young team this year. This was kind of supposed to be a little bit of a rebuilding year, and here we won the title and went all the way to the dance. And then we have that, and I can't remember her name. If you have the roster in front of me, you can help me out. She's like a 6'6" freshman from like Forsyth, Montana, some little town in Montana.
Was she on the team this year?
I think she redshirted. She may have been injured.
Oh,
and I wish I had it in front of me, but if she's fully healthy, like that's the size that, I mean, that's a great size for any program in the country. Like Stanford would love to have someone with that size. She had offer her senior year from like Nebraska. I think she chose us over Nebraska and maybe like North Dakota or North Dakota State, some other program. Like she's going to be a solid player. And it's driving me crazy. I don't have her name up in front of me.
Lindsey Hine.
I was going to say, I think it's Lindsey Hine. Yeah. Where's she from? Do you have it? Is it Forsyth?
Forsyth. Yeah.
Look at me.
Good job, buddy.
Look at me. Yeah. She's going to be, I think, a contributor day one. And with the rise of like Cola Badbear, the way she played in the second half of the season, I mean, and then of course Darian White is Darian White. I think the Cats would probably be the preseason number one favorite next year on the women's side of the women's side. So I think if you're going to ask me for the easy choice, I think it's the women.
Yeah, I was totally agreed with that. We have a lot of young guys coming back from the men's side, but definitely not the experience, definitely not the star power.
Yeah.
The guy that comes to mind for the men would be Jabril Bello. But we have a lot of shooters coming back right now, like guys like Tyler Patterson, Nick Gonzalez, Carter Ash, Sam Leckalot,
Raekwon Battle.
A lot of bench. Raekwon Battle is going to be coming back. He's going to be the cornerstone for the team.
Yes.
Not only a 6-man, but he's going to be a featured guy.
Yep.
A guy I'm super stoked on is the Missoula product, Alec Dermer. He can shoot the ball. Holy smokes! Holy cow! So the guy from like a la Tyler Patterson, but maybe a little bit more consistent from three. So yeah, we got a lot of shooters, but just kind of some unproven players. I know we have a new signee from Cal State Northridge, Darius Brown the second. Yeah, he's got 2 years to play. He's a guard, so he's going to take the point. He'll usurp their bishop for us. So, but yeah, I would say Colorado Cats. To your point, the women have the better chance right now on paper. I think to be the better team.
Yeah, I think the men maybe picked like top 3 next year, maybe top 4 at worst. There's still a lot of talent coming back. You got the Big Sky Conference Coach of the Year returning, but I just think the women are primed next year.
Yeah, let's talk about Sprinkle getting that contract extension right now. He signed a 4-year contract extension going through 2025, 2026. It's big news.
That is huge news. So there was rumors swirling around, and we had seen it on Twitter. I believe we had also heard this offline from we have like a handful of sources. Like, we don't really have much. People think we're connected. We're not. We have a couple people who sometimes like throw us a bone. But yeah, we'd heard he was
that's accurate
going for that San Diego job, and then started popping up on Twitter. This one account, like the Low Madness, March Madness account, that only has like 4,000 followers, which is, how big of a source is it? I don't know. But that person was the main driver behind a lot of this too. And I'm hearing Sprinkle's the guy. You're thinking, oh, well, crap. Like, I'm starting to get frustrated. Like, we can't even keep an alma mater, a graduate coach around. I'm getting all grumpy about it. And then out of the blue, the announcement that Sprinkle is staying around, signs a new contract, a new 4-year contract. I guess it's actually a contract extension. The clarification came later, but he's locked up again, which is, you're not really locked up, but he has an extension through the 2025, 2026 season. I'm looking at the information here in the Chronicle from, when is this? Is pretty recent. This is, updated 1 hour ago. His base salary is now $185,000, $711. So his salary went up a little bit, not a whole lot. That's only an annual salary increase of $18,000. I'm sure there's tons of incentives and maybe some other stuff in there. But yeah, awesome news. Awesome news that Danny Sprinkle has signed a contract extension to be back in Montana State, because this is a big part of the discussion we had earlier about becoming a legitimate mid-major. You have to have some sort of consistency in coaching, or some sort of coaching tree, or you got a next guy in line. So, okay, Sprinkle left. Who's the next guy? We got grooming. I mean, that's the kind of stuff that programs have, and we just haven't had that. So getting him to come back next year, I think, is going to be a big step towards the Bobcats potentially becoming, a consistent, legitimate mid-major program.
Let's talk about what you said to me on the phone the other day. You talked about Montana State going to the Mountain West, how this could be maybe some writing on the wall.
You wanted me to, you're trying to squeeze this out of me, aren't you? I had this random thought that Sprinkle, part of the reason that Sprinkle signed the contract to come back to Montana State instead of taking a San Diego job, and this is complete conjecture, complete hearsay, I'm making this up, is that maybe Leon Costello knows something about potentially, hey, stick around for a few years. That Mountain West invite might be coming our way. Now, this is complete conjecture. Please nobody go around saying like,
what?
Oh, I heard it on our
fact.
Bobcats to the Mountain West. Complete just thought that popped into my head. And I don't know if there's any legitimacy to that. And there probably isn't. But, Boise State, there's a lot of linchpins that could start a whole domino effect that could end up with the Bobcats in the Mountain West.
Ah, man. And I'm just kind of shocked.
And I don't know. That just thought that popped in my head. But probably complete BS.
I'm just shocked that he's only making, what did you say, 180?
185, 711.
What is Binford making?
Binford had been making, and I probably closed what I had. She had been making whatever Danny Sprinkle made plus like $1,200 in 2020. So Binford was the only women's coach at any of the Big Sky Conference schools that was making more than the men's counterpart, which is great. That's awesome for Tricia Binford.
Yeah, Bozeman just has this weird thing going where it's like super expensive, right? Median house price, I just checked the other 2 weeks ago, was like $700,000 or $800,000 median house price. So you're telling me Danny Sprinkle, head coach, making what was it again? I can't hear you. $185,000
now, like 186.
Yeah. All right. So talk about Dan Russell and name me some other.
Chris Haslam, Dan Russell are the two.
Yeah, Chris Haslam. I can never remember Chris Haslam. Yeah. So the coaches beneath him, his assistants, what do they make? What do you think?
60, 70 maybe, if they're lucky.
It's probably a little bit more, I would assume, but $60,000, Bozeman, Montana. You're not living in Bozeman. I mean, that's got to be so hard helping the guys that work for you, your coaches. Oh, man, that just seems like it's such a tough place to live if you're just only making that kind of money.
Yeah, I mean, that's tough. If that's your only income, anyway, assuming that no one else in the household is earning any income.
That's a good point.
But, I mean, Montana State's not the only program in the Big Sky Conference that's dealing with super high housing. I mean, there's Portland, can't be any better. Sacramento State. I mean, everywhere is getting pretty bad. So I don't know. I don't know if it's it's bad in Bozeman. Don't get me wrong. I don't know if it's significantly worse in Bozeman than it is in Flagstaff or something.
Yeah. I think if we go to the Mountain West, that TV money deal, that contract that you have.
That's the big thing, is that TV contract.
Woo. Yeah, right. So, man, I don't know. Montana State has the potential to become a legit mid-major. I could see a path for it, right? Bozeman's growing. You could see the money coming in. You could see the fresh face in Danny Sprinkle. He just signed a 4-year contract. You could see the confluence of events. It's there. It's there for the taking. You just got to fund it. Montana State has to fund it. I
want to strike while the iron's hot. Like,
right?
It's as good as time as any as it's going to be. That everything's growing. Bozeman's growing. The institution is growing. The athletic programs are having major success. Like, if you're going to jump to the FBS, obviously you want a fit in a conference. You're not just going to take it the first thing that comes. I mean, look at McNeese State and Lamar both just left the WAC. The WAC was going to go to the FBS and they just pulled out and no, we're sticking in the Southland. And you don't want to do anything like that. You want it to be right, but it's as good as it's going to get right now. Like if an offer came along, if it doesn't, it doesn't, which is fine. I'm okay where we are. Mm-hmm. But it's easy to kind of get stars in the eyes a little bit about some of the FBS stuff because it's not just football. It's the basketball.
No.
You're in the Mountain West.
Yes.
In a 3-4 bid league. That's a huge difference between you have to go all the way. You have to win your tournament. You could go undefeated in the regular season and you lose your semifinal game of the tournament and it doesn't matter. That's what the Big Sky is.
Yeah.
Whereas if you're in the Mountain West, you can probably go you can go 7. You can win 70% of your games in the conference, and you're still going to go to the tournament.
You get 20 wins, you're going to go.
Yeah,
you're going to go.
Hey, by the way,
that's huge.
By the way, I calculated this. I did some math. Performance incentives not taking into consideration GPA, any of the kind of off-field stuff or off-court stuff, I think Sprinkle made $35,000 in performance incentives this year. Because there was X amount of dollars for winning the regular season title. There was X amount of dollars for the coach of the year. There was X amount of dollars for making it to the big dance. I'm just saying, like, there are plenty of incentives. Like, your base is like, it is what it is, $170,000, whatever it was last year. But, you know, he got himself over 200 easily.
What do you think DeCure makes?
Well, I closed it. I heard DeCure has a deal where he gets a lot of money game money. Like when they play Stanford a few years ago, or if they're able to play a decent sized program that pays him to come in, he gets to keep a disproportionate amount of that money as kind of an incentive. That's the word on the street from my little birds. my Grizz birds. I have more Grizz sources than I do Bobcat sources, which is super annoying.
Yeah, I think I know your Grizz sources too. All right, man. Let's keep this thing going. Okay.
Anything else? Oh, we got a few
looking
more
at the
basketball things, yeah. Before we move off.
Yeah, why don't you? Yeah, I can hit those. A couple guys in the transfer portal. Every time I think of the transfer portal, I think of like a swirling black and white Batman, Adam West, like kapow sign that just like swirls around, and the players just jump into this portal, and then they get disseminated somewhere else. Anyways, off on a tangent. Borja Fernandez, he's going into the portal. Good for him. You know, he deserves to play somewhere. He was a bench guy. He was a rah guy for us this season.
I thought he was pretty decent player his first year. I thought he was going to develop into a good player. Now he got hurt. He broke his leg, right? Is that what it was?
I can't remember, but he
was on crutches for that the 6-man club game, and it came out that he was hurt. And then he just ended up getting sometimes when you get hurt, you lose that development, and guys pass you, and it is what it is. Mm-hmm. But
he was
good for Borja.
So I kind of knew the writing was on the wall for Borja when I went to the Eastern Washington game, and I sat like 2-3 rows behind the bench. He was the last guy on the bench. He was the last seat. And when players would come off, he would like move over. He'd be like, "Okay, come on in." I got Caboose over here. I was like, "Yeah, Borja's gone. he's gone."
Yeah.
So
fair enough.
I just kind of wish him well. Isaac Spears, a Las Vegas guard, freshman for us. There's a guy I was kind of excited to see.
Yeah, same.
Yeah, he's in the portal again, which kind of surprised me. I don't know if that had anything to do with the Darius Brown signing.
It has to.
It might have. Yeah,
because now he's third on the kind of the point guardy type bench. We got Darius Brown, and Kellen Tynes, and then Isaac Spears would be kind of third man in that bunch.
Yeah, so, it kind of sucks because I'm like, okay, just bide your time, dude. Just sit there, learn your position, work hard, put your head down. And he's a freshman, he's a guy he could get some legit touches as a junior, something like that, and be like a star player for us. But now, he's going to go play at, who knows? It just that kind of stuff just frustrates me a little bit as a fan.
I know it does. You don't like it when people look for better opportunities for themselves.
Yeah.
We'll always disagree on this. We'll always disagree on this.
Fair enough. All right. Well, man, we just talked 50 minutes about basketball.
Yeah, which is a little surprising. I didn't think we would do that, but here we are.
No. All
this could be a marathon episode. It's been a while since we recorded. I don't really care. I know it's 10 o'clock our time, so it's up to you how early you want to cut this, but we got footy ball.
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about football.
Good. So when you say so. I'm having a good time.
Okay.
Let's start with Pro Day.
Yeah. Let's do it.
Who all, I'm going to ask you this, and I know you probably don't have it up. I don't have it up. Who all participated in Pro Day?
All right. Off the top of my head,
yes, go.
We have Kevin Cassis, Jacques Allen. Those are the two that got the invites coming back. We had Chase Benson. We had Troy Anderson, Lance McCutcheon, Trey Webb, and
Daniel Hardy,
Mondre Williams, and Daniel Hardy.
Yeah, I think that covers it. I think it's everybody.
Boom!
You did it. Look at that.
I did it.
Right. We don't have any of the numbers up, and we're not going to get too granular with this. But I was actually pretty impressed with some of the numbers, especially, Troy Anderson. Daniel Hardy put up some really good numbers. The one that sticks out is the 40-inch vertical. Trey Webb, I thought, had a really good stats on this stuff. His 40 time was pretty good. He impressed. I actually thought Trey Webb shot himself into the conversation to be at least signed as an undrafted free agent. Kevin Cass is putting up 23 reps. The bench press, was that what it was? He beat Lewis Kidd.
Beast. Gosh.
I think I listened to Coulter's show, and I think he was saying that Kevin Cass's sister is like a CrossFit coach or something. So he thinks that Kevin has just been doing nothing but CrossFit and training. And we know from having him on the show, he's just a fitness guru. So not surprising that he came out and showed out. It's I like seeing this kind of stuff because it vindicates when you're a fan of an FCS football team and you think a guy is fast or he's strong. Is that skewed because you're looking at through the lens of other FCS players, but then you see a guy like Kevin Cassis run he ran a 4.48 or a 4.5, low 4.5s, whatever it was. It was quick. You just see that stuff okay, that's legitimate. That's NFL or at least high end college type stuff. So that's what I like seeing, this kind of stuff. It vindicates you as a person who watches football and tries to judge talent. Okay, I'm not completely crazy. These guys are strong and fast, like they would be if they were at Alabama type situations. Some of them,
yeah,
they don't have maybe the same weight or the same height, but they're just as fast or strong, in some situations.
Yep. I was just looking through some stuff. We forgot to mention Nate Stewart and Taylor Tuiasosopo. So they were also participants in the pro day. When I look at this class, it just reifies in me how good this senior class was. Jeff Cho put together an amazing class. Not only Jeff Cho, you could give Coach Vegan a little bit of credit in there too, but this was a special group. And
it was.
When you look across over to Missoula, when you looked at their pro day, I want to say the numbers were considerably down. And the news that came out from ours, like you just talked about, I'm not going to rehash all that stuff, but just much more flash, much more national news about these Bobcats. Mm-hmm. And I just want to applaud those guys because they really put in the hard work, and we're going to be talking about a couple guys going to the NFL from this class.
Well, we have some Golden Coolie questions along those lines, do we not? Let's dive into those. Bleeding Blue. This is the one we're going to have a hard time answering. He asks us, going with the most obvious question, where does Troy get drafted? Bonus, who drafts him? Okay, so the bonus is what team? I have no idea. No clue. I'm sorry.
Bleeding Blue.
We're the least, at least for me, I don't know anything about the NFL draft. I don't watch it most years. I don't care about it.
It's just so hard to check because
teams, Troy Anderson.
Yeah, teams trade up and trade down, and they move positions all over. What I'm going to say about Troy Anderson is what I said before. I think he goes on the second round. I think Troy's probably going to be between 40 and 75.
Yeah. I think I asked this question on our last episode where I put an over and under on Joey Thomas's draft pick, which was 70. It's going to be better. I think 70 is a pretty good bar. I think high 40s, low 50s, but could be all the way up to 70. I don't think he'll go lower than 70.
Dude, do you remember Joey Thomas wearing that his headband on his neck? He's so cool. I never saw one player do that except for Joey Thomas.
Yeah,
that was his look, man. And the short socks. Yeah. He had the short socks. Yeah.
There we go. Nice little tangent. Joey Thomas tangent. People listen to this podcast probably don't know who Joey Thomas is. We're dating ourselves at this point.
Chase Benson put 30 reps up on the bench. I think Coulter said it was like the most in his position group.
He's a beast, man. Like that's not surprising. It's not surprising.
I think he didn't do anything else. he's like an assistant strength coach for Arkansas State now.
I'm just gonna go bench and just show everyone like, hey, I'm strong.
I love Chase Benson, man. That guy's so cool.
Rocky Bearcat.
We should talk to that guy.
Okay. Yeah.
We should talk to him, man.
That'd be an interesting interview. That'd be interesting.
That would be.
Rocky Bearcat asks us, where will Daniel Hardy end up? You think he'll be drafted, free agent, or possibly the CFL? Hardy may have showed himself into a 7th round draft pick. I think he either gets drafted or if he doesn't, he signs real quick, a la like Bryce Stirk or Bo Sandland, who both like signed really quick after the draft ended. There'll be some teams that are waiting to see what happens with him. And the moment he's not drafted, he'll get a call. I think he'll be on at least a practice squad here, come the NFL season. But drafted,
yeah,
that's hard. It's hard to know.
No, yeah, I don't see that happening for anybody except Troy Anderson on the team. But the guys I would say that are going to the NFL from this class would be Troy Anderson, Daniel Hardy, Lance McCutcheon will probably be on the practice squad.
I think it's so hard to analyze your own team from the lens of like an NFL person now. I think Lance McCutcheon's actually his hands are probably his biggest weakness. Like he just dropped some balls this year.
Ooh, Lewis Kidd. Oh, I forgot about Lewis Kidd. Lewis Kidd probably.
I think Hardy has the second best chance of getting drafted behind Troy Anderson, who will get drafted. Hardy and Kidd are probably pretty close to each other. McCutcheon could, but I think he's got some.
Trey Webb.
Trey Webb,
size, and speed, man. Yeah, he's probably. There's some guys we just keep missing on.
Trey Webb's got a good, probably a highlight reel. If you're a scout, he's probably got lots of good tape because of Montana State, and then all the time he had at San Jose State. Is it San Jose or San Diego State? I can never remember. I get those two programs confused. But yeah, he was like a second team or honorable mention all conference at San Jose State. He's probably got a lot of good tape there too. So he's got tape there, he's got tape here, and the way he showed out at Pro Day, I mean, there's a possibility that he may get drafted. I would say probably not. I think he'll probably be a signee. I think there'll be 4 Bobcats signed who will sign contracts of various kinds by the end of April.
All right, Thornton, we're going to play a game right here. I'm going to read down the list. You tell me NFL, CFL, undrafted.
Okay.
All right. Troy Anderson.
Drafted NFL superstar.
All right. I knew that. That was the easy one. He's on the top of the list. Lewis Kidd.
Free agent. Undrafted free agent.
Chase Benson.
Nowhere. Coaching.
Trick question. Yep. Daniel Hardy.
Undrafted free agent.
Amandre Williams.
Nowhere.
Trey Webb.
Undrafted free agent.
Lance McCutcheon.
Nowhere.
Nate Stewart.
Nowhere.
Jacquay Allen.
Nowhere.
Kevin Cassis.
Nowhere.
Yeah.
I don't think
I would say exactly
really
the same. Yeah. I would be exactly 100% in concert with you on all of those right there.
I just don't see anyone being a CFL. Like, CFL is a weird place, man. Like, if there's a high demand in the CFL, seemingly for like Big Sky quarterbacks, but beyond that, like, I don't know any other
Eastern quarterbacks.
Well, yeah, Eastern quarterbacks, but like Dakota Prukop's up there.
Yeah.
McGee. I thought McGee was up there for a brief spell. Maybe not. Maybe he
was. He.
I don't know if he ever signed, but there's lots of quarterbacks up there. But like, I don't know anyone else really that goes up there. I mean, Alex Singleton did because he had dual citizenship. So that was a little bit of an ace up his sleeve. He was able to be drafted as a Canadian. Yeah. It's hard to, I just don't know if the other guys who aren't NFL guys are going to be that motivated to try to get in the CFL.
Yeah. All right.
So
here we are. We said prior to this, we're not going to talk a lot about the pro day, and here we are.
We didn't really. We talked more about their prognostications in the NFL and beyond.
Ooh, that's a big word. All right.
NFL.
Let's prognostications.
Disseminate prognostications.
Okay. Oh my gosh, she's going off the rails. Hey, let's talk about this golden coolie question from BP Cats 20. Hold on, Thorny. Is there anything else you want to say with the draft?
No, I pretty much did it.
Yeah, I mean, super stoked to watch for the whole Troy Anderson news. I'm I can't wait for that. I still think I'm probably going to get Troy Anderson jersey, regardless of what.
Yeah,
we talked about.
I probably have to too.
Yeah, I hope he gets drafted by the Bengals. That'd be so sweet. Anyways, I don't think it's going to happen, but you have a 132 chance.
Better chance than the Rams, probably.
Yeah.
Although the Rams have
probably
a lot
about
of
the
like
same
late...
actually, because the Rams are the 32nd or the 31st. So
yeah, we just drafted signed Bobby Wagner, so probably set in the linebackers room.
Dude, that guy's an old horse, man.
He's not that old. He's good enough. He's an upgrade with the Rams had, and then won the Super Bowl. So,
all right. BP Cats, keeping in the football theme. He said Jeff Cho was able to recruit a different level of athlete to MSU and change the culture. Do you expect Coach Vegan to have the same ability to identify and then recruit the elite athlete to MSU? Facilities are great, but it still comes down to coaches.
They have a whole different coaching or recruiting philosophies. Cho was able to recruit a lot of 3-star recruits, but only half of them ever stuck around. His philosophy was, I'm just going to recruit as many high-level guys as I can, and know half of them are either going to transfer or quit or whatever. I mean, it's hard to see this quickly what Vegan is going to do. It's hard to know if he's going to bring in that high level of unquote high level of talent. So I think he probably will be able to. It might not be as flashy, but I think he's more of a, that's what North Dakota State typically does. Is more of a developmental program. They get the guys where they project what they're going to be rather than the guys that are ready to come in and contribute right away. So I think in the end, it will balance out. It just might not be as splashy on signing day.
Yeah, I think you hit it on the head right there. I was thinking exactly the same thing. Vegan just speaks to me like North Dakota State. All of them. Like when we watched North Dakota State, they were just like the same type of dude over and over again. They just had waves of those type of players. They weren't the best. They weren't the biggest. Sometimes they were. But I think when you talk about what BP Cats was talking about, Jeff Cho had some amazing recruits. Like guys who were just like, wow, I can't believe we have them. But it was like a handful, and then we had a lot of supporting cast. I thought Jeff Choate did a great job at galvanizing the culture, but he had those 4 to 5 guys that were just star players. The difference being North Dakota State has 20 guys that are not star players, but they're really good players, right?
Well, it's like their entire defensive line was Chase Benson, basically.
Yeah. Coulter Nuanez always says lately, he goes, you need 5 to 10 star players on your team to win the national championship. Montana State had probably 6 or 7 guys last year, maybe close to 10 guys that were all league type guys that got us to there. And I think Coach Vegan's challenge will be keeping that kind of that upper echelon player in the team, but developing them. Like guys like Sebastian Valdez, the guys Brody Greeby, those guys can be those guys, but we need waves of those dudes coming up.
Yeah, absolutely. You have to go almost 8 deep on the defensive line.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
if not 10
we've been
deep.
Playing 10. Yeah, so last year we played 10 deep. This year we have, I think, 6 returning. So we're gonna have to get 4 guys to play that didn't play meaningful snaps last year. So then you start talking about the who are we going to play on the defensive line that is going to Sebastian Valdez would be a guy. I'm thinking of
Blake
David
Schmidt.
Alston. Yeah, Blake Schmidt,
Kyle Rigg.
Mm-hmm.
Paul Brock could be a guy. Ben Seymour, Tyson Regibald, those guys are both, when healthy, contributors.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, there's going to be some question marks. Some guys are going to have to step up and fill those holes by Daniel Hardy, Chase Benson, and Mondre Williams. That was a solid 3 group of guys there.
Yeah. I just don't think it's going to be the same the way Choate did it. Choate was always, gosh, man, he was such a good job at selling the program and making everything look awesome.
Yes.
I think Coach Vegan has, I hate to say this, I think Coach Vegan has I don't know why I hate to say this. That's the wrong thing to say. I think he has a better foundation for a solid program than Coach Choate did. Yep. I loved Coach Choate, but I think Coach Vegan has like a more structurally sound program.
Yeah.
Does that make sense to you?
No, I completely, I see what you're saying there, and I agree with you. Like, it just seems we're on more solid footing, where it's not so much a house of cards. Not that that's what it was with Jeff Choate, but it is comparatively, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay.
So I want to ask you a question. Since we're kind of talking about this right now, and this is the final Golden Coolie question we have, and I wasn't sure I was going to ask it because we'll certainly discuss this more after the Sonny Holland game. Cats are back 76. When looking at the 2022 team, which area of the team gives you the most optimism, and where are your biggest concerns?
Ooh.
And he says which area. I assume I'm going to interpret this as position group. So
I think our defensive backfield gives us the most optimism. For me, we have like Eric Zambrano. Drew Polidor is a guy that is a freshman from Air Force Academy. I'm excited to see Miles Jackson make some moves. Tyrell Thomas is coming back. James Campbell is coming back. Simeon Woodard, the man. He's one of my favorite players. He's coming back. Devin Davis. A guy we haven't seen much from, Jackson Harmon. I mean, these are all names we are just like, holy cow, these guys signed.
Did you say Tyrell Thomas yet?
Tyrell.
Because he's coming back.
He's the shortest of them all. Yeah, he's coming back. I think our backfield, and I didn't even mention Tyle Cotta.
I was going to say, did you say Tyle Cotta?
Any of the, no, I didn't say any of the safeties on here, which would be...
Well, Eric Zambrano has been moved to safety. So you did technically say safety.
Our safeties are Jake I can't see his last name right now. Eli Abbey, Aiden Parks, Tyson Pottinger, Kendrick Bailey, Jeffrey Manning Jr., Ryan Lenort, Connor Ryan, Lavelle Price Jr., Tyle Cotta. I like our backfield, man. I think that's going to be the best position group that we have. I think we're going to be elite again. We lose Trey Webb. We lose Troy Anderson. That's about it in the backfield, right? Am I missing another guy?
I thought we lost a cornerback. It's going to drive me crazy now. But yeah, we had a solid group back there this year. So that we do have a lot of young talent. I think the cornerback's going to be really good. I can see that being an area of optimism for sure. I'm mostly optimistic for the wide receivers.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Now, that's not necessarily because of the wide receivers. It's because we might have a quarterback who can sling it around a little bit better than we've had. But we also, Jaden Smith is a guy that you and I have been high on. He got kind of passed up this year, so we'll see what he's got going there. But then we got that Ravi Alston transfer from the Division III program who, all accounts, has turned some heads. He's kind of going to fill that Lance McCutcheon role for the Bobcats. But then you got like Andrew Patterson is a guy who redshirted last year, who's just a speed demon. You got Willie Patterson who's coming back. I think he had a pretty good year last year. For all the kind of grief we throw his way sometimes, he makes some plays and he had a good year, and I think he's going to continue to progress there. Peanut Monroe is a guy we've been high on. Cam Gardner will be back. Charles Brown is another freshman who can make some noise. By all accounts, Coy Steele might actually be healthy enough to come back again. I feel like I'm missing somebody here, but I think I might be looking at his old roster. Now I'm looking at, but those are just the guys off the top of my head that I think are going to be a solid group of guys. It's going to be hard to replicate some of the production because Nate Stewart came on real strong last year, and Lance McCutcheon were kind of the two big guys there, and Willie Patterson. But if Robbie Austin can kind of take the Lance McCutcheon role, there's going to be some big targets and receptions up for grabs, and I think we got a solid group of guys to compete for that.
Yeah, I would say you're exactly right. Taven Williams, Noah Smith is a guy, freshman, 6'3" freshman. You forgot to mention maybe Tanner.
That's because I'm looking at an old
6'5".
roster. He's not on there. Noah Smith isn't.
Yeah.
So to flip it, who are you concerned about the most?
Our defensive line.
Yeah, same here. We talked a little bit about it, and it's not a bad group. Like I have that spreadsheet going where I project kind of the guys there. We got Blake Heel, Blake Schmidt, Kyle Rigg. I think Brody Greeby's going to be a star. Kenneth Iden, I don't know where he fits into all of this. I know everyone was super high on him coming out of high school. He didn't play a lot last year. I think he might be kind of the other defensive end. If not, maybe he'll move to linebacker. I don't know if we're going to run a 4-2-5 again this year. I'm not sure what the scheme is going to be now that Freddie Banks is gone.
I think we are.
You think we're sticking with that?
We're going to run a 4-2-5 and then a mixture of 4-3-4.
So, I mean, that's a hard one to produce. We just got that new, we got a transfer from like Abilene Christian, right? You're looking your head around like, what? But I know we did.
Yeah,
and he wasn't a real
Abilene
big guy,
Christian.
though. He was only like 250.
Yes. It's not saying
it seems like we're just getting a whole bunch
yes.
of like 250-pound guys. Like that David Alston guy, the Nebraska transfer. He's around that 250, 255 range. It's like we need so we don't need a traditional 300-pound guy. I'm not sure North Dakota State had any of those guys. You just need a whole bunch of like 275-pound, wide body, big bodied guys. Strong guys. And I don't know if we have enough of those guys right now.
We can make it there. Like I'm looking at Zach Black. He is 6'4", 260. He has the potential to put on the mass to be there at defensive tackle. Tyson Reginbald's 247, so he's got a ways to go. Blake Schmidt's at 278. Kyle Riggs at 275. Sebastian Valdez is at 260. Paul Brott needs to put on some weight, 245. Aaron Gurley, 220. He's a freshman. He's pretty small right now. Trey Yates, he's another guy. There's a name for you, 257. Brody Greeby.
Tucker Yates, younger brother.
Yeah. Hunter Parsons, he's 225. He's a defensive end. Luke Fedek is another defensive end, 6'1", 200. David Alston is playing defensive end, 241. Ben Seymour, defensive end, 233. So the guys off the edge are a little bit lighter than our defensive tackles. One thing I think the Bobcats could do, they could probably pick up some guy over summer, a big defensive tackle, nose tackle, 3 tech right there, 0 tech right there in the middle. That's going to take up the A gap. So some guy who's probably like 280, 290, big, nasty dude.
We almost have to have that because there's only, by my count, 2 guys over 270 on the defensive line.
It would be awesome if we had 2 guys like that. Remember when we played Sam Houston State? I mean, we kicked the crap out of them, but they're defensive tackles. It's big dudes, but not like the fat dudes.
No,
but
lean, super lean, athletic and lean. That's if you're going to be that's what's fine about 275. You can be quick, and you still have to be strong enough to hold your own, though. So it's hard. It's hard to know what exactly the Cats need because you thought you had a good defensive line last year, and North Dakota State just completely blew them apart. So.
Yeah.
Something's got to be revamped there.
Well,
with the mindset of always having North Dakota State in your scope.
Yeah. Where North Dakota State just kicked so much butt was their offensive line. Their superstars are on their offensive line.
Yes.
Yeah, we need to always have a great offensive line and then an awesome defensive line. It's always one up front.
Yep.
So,
and that's where I'm worried.
Yeah, I think Coach Speaker knows that.
That's why my biggest fear is the defensive line right now. Is it good enough for the Big Sky? Right. Probably. Is it good enough to go on another playoff run? To be determined.
Yeah. We'll see. All right. So, some position changes. Marcus Ware went from defensive line to offensive line, and Eric Zambrano went from cornerback to safety. I don't know much about Marcus Ware, but I could definitely tell. I saw a picture of Zambrano. He put on some weight. He's a big dude, man. He looks like a safety. I think that's a good move for him.
It's easy to like fall in love with the 6'1", 200-pound cornerback in the Big Sky, though.
Yeah,
which is
roughly what he is. He does not look 200 pounds anymore. He looks.
You think he looks beefed
big.
up.
Yeah.
I wonder if they talked about moving him to safety in the offseason, which is like what, 2 months ago, 2.5 months ago. It's like, how much weight can you really beef up since January 20th or whatever that national championship game was?
Golly, he looks like he put on the college weight that kids put on. And you're like, holy cow.
Right.
You know, he just doesn't look like the skinny high schooler anymore. He looks like he's like his shoulders, you know, he's just thicker. So he's going to put the hurt on someone.
Well, that's what I like to hear. All right. Anything else you want to wrap up about this?
Yeah, we just got to choose a Golden Coolie question.
Right.
So that's
you said you had one already picked out. Yeah. So who's your winner?
That's a good question.
I thought you said you had one already. It was a Colorado Cat, I thought.
Now, if we don't pick Colorado Cat, that'd be a jerk move. It was Colorado Cat. And I thought I picked Colorado Cat because he sent in 2 of them. But that's not true. He only sent in 1. All right. So Colorado Cat, I know I've sent you a Coolie, but I'm going to, the new edition ones are coming out. And we're going to choose you. Which basketball team will have the better season next year? That was a good question. Thanks for sending it in. Woo! Colorado Cat!
Yeah, the first applause of the year. The next year. This is like our first kind of episode talking about next year of any kind.
Oh my gosh. All right. I think we're done.
Man.
Go to bed.
I am tired. That was a lot of fun, though. We're about an hour and 15 on this bad boy, covering everything from basketball to football to answering your questions. It was a lot of fun. Thanks for listening, as always. You can find us on Twitter, RRCatcast. You can find us on the web, rrcatcast.com. Thanks again to Jeremiah Johnson for being our awesome sponsor once again. And Foley, let's just get out of here, man. Go Cats.
Go Cats.
Go Cats.